Hello lovely viewers, and welcome back to the Bold and the Beautiful News official YouTube channel, your top destination for the most explosive CBS soap updates. Make sure to smash that subscribe button and give this video a huge thumbs up. The Forrester mansion had never felt so tense. What was supposed to be a joyful, sacred moment was quickly unraveling into emotional chaos as the baptism ceremony began for a new Logan Forrester child, yet in the background, secrets boiled over that could destroy everything. As Hope cradled the baby in her arms and Brooke tried to hold her composure, the priest's voice droned on in Latin, but eyes were darting across the room, none more intensely than those of Bill Spencer, who had shown up not just to offer his congratulations, but to confront a storm of suspicions that had been growing inside him ever since a certain conversation he overheard between Grace Buckingham and an unknown caller. Grace, poised and elegant in her understated cream dress, had been acting strange for weeks, always distracted, always rushing off when someone mentioned Luna, and Bill, ever the bloodhound for betrayal, knew something was off, something so off that it had the potential to detonate every fragile relationship holding the Logan, Forrester, and Spencer clans together. After the baptism, guests gathered for what was supposed to be a celebratory brunch, but Bill pulled Grace aside near the Forrester garden, where he wasted no time with pleasantries. "You've been lying, Grace," he said, voice low but sharp as glass, and when Grace hesitated, trying to pivot the conversation toward her daughter's recent challenges or the stress of the event, Bill pounced, "Don't insult me. I know you met with Reese, your ex, 3 nights ago at the Cliff House, and you didn't go there to argue," and the color drained from Grace's face, confirming everything. What Bill didn't expect, however, was Grace's sudden breakdown. Tears spilled as she admitted she'd been blackmailed by Reese, who threatened to expose something about Luna's biological father that would ruin her, that would destroy Luna's already fragile world, and even implicate someone else at the baptism, someone who didn't even know they were connected to Luna by blood. And just as Bill was about to demand who the father really was, Steffi and Finn emerged from the house, stopping in their tracks as they caught the sight of Grace sobbing and Bill visibly furious. Finn narrowed his eyes, approaching slowly, knowing something was terribly wrong, and when he asked if this had to do with Luna's disappearance last week, Grace barely managed to nod. "She doesn't know who her real father is," Grace confessed in a trembling voice, and that sent a jolt through everyone, especially Bill, whose mind immediately raced back to a one-night stand years ago in Monte Carlo that he never told anyone about, a night Grace had been suspiciously vague about when questioned by Taylor during Luna's early mental health sessions. And now Bill's worst fears crept in. Could he be the secret father Grace had been protecting Luna from all along? But before he could ask, Finn exploded, demanding to know if Grace was implying he wasn't Luna's half-uncle at all, and Steffi, trying to calm her husband, only made things worse when she let slip that she'd always suspected something strange about Luna's parentage based on a conversation she had with Poppy, who once drunkenly muttered, "She doesn't even know the truth about her dad." And now, the brunch turned interrogation as Ridge, Brooke, Carter, and even Zend began gathering around Grace, demanding answers. Grace, now in full meltdown mode, shouted that she'd been protecting everyone, that revealing the truth would break hearts, destroy marriages, and tear Luna apart. But Bill wouldn't back down. "You kept this from me," he growled, grabbing Grace's arm tightly, not in violence, but in desperation, and she finally broke, whispering, "It's not you, Bill, it's someone worse," and that name she gave, so softly, sent shockwaves through the group, because the man she accused of being Luna's father was none other than Jack Finnegan, Finn's supposed adoptive father, meaning Luna was Finn's half-sister all along, and Grace had known the truth from the moment she met him at the hospital. Now, everything spiraled into chaos, Finn staggering back in disbelief, Steffi screaming in horror, and Bill, though relieved, also furious that Grace let them all live in ignorance for so long. Ridge pulled Brooke into his arms as the entire family's foundation began crumbling again, while Hope, still holding the baby inside, could only watch from the French doors as the entire baptism gathering transformed into a battlefield of accusations, heartbreak, and betrayal. And as Carter tried to separate Finn from Jack, who'd just arrived with Lee unaware of the secret about to blow up their marriage too, Grace begged for forgiveness. "I didn't want this. I didn't want Luna to hate me." But it was too late, because just then, Luna herself returned to the mansion, still bruised and emotionally raw from her own journey of discovery. and upon hearing everything, she collapsed in sobs at Grace's feet, screaming, "You stole my life from me," while Jack stood in frozen horror. The baptism was supposed to be a moment of peace, of purity, of family togetherness, but now, all that was left were angry threats, Ridge threatening to throw Jack out of the company, Lee threatening divorce, Finn threatening never to speak to Grace again, and Bill quietly making a call to his PI, vowing, "If there's more to this, I'll find it, and God help anyone else who's lying," as the once holy event devolved into a nightmarish reckoning for everyone involved. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Wednesday, July 16th, reveal that Bill Spencer will prepare to skulk Liam Spencer out of the sanitarium while John Finnegan reacts to Grace Buckingham's weird jest. Now that Liam has inked the paperwork, he can move forward with the experimental treatment that Grace recommended. Grace's co-worker has developed a procedure that's in its early stages, but she's averring this could give Liam real stopgap of survival. Bill Spencer is clearly agitated and has offered a blank check if that's what it takes. Grace refocused out the treatment could bring overhead of $1 million, but that's the last thing Bill's upset about considering the size of his bank account. Once the plutocrat situation is taken care of, Bill will be willing to help sneak Liam off to the surgical center Grace reserved, too. Since the sanitarium can't authorize or indeed know about any of this, B&B spoilers say Grace will have to be careful. Of course, Grace may ultimately have to make some defenses for Liam's evaporating act. Finn and Bridget Forrester will surely pick up on some strange suggestions when it comes to Grace's jest, since she's going to go against protocol on some effects. Still, Bridget and Finn will also take some time to bandy Liam's frippery and perseverance. Liam has been through a lot between his brain excrescence news and this firing fire, so Finn and Bridget will be full of admiration. Bridget and Finn will just wish there was further they could do to help. Now Liam's ready to fight for another chapter, so let's stopgap Grace's co-worker can come through for him. Liam wants to stay alive so that Beth Spencer and Kelly Spencer don't have to grow up without a pater. So there's a lot at stake. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say Liam's plot will come with further curveballs, so stay tuned for updates on all the twists and turns ahead. The bold and the beautiful spoilers update for Tuesday, July 15th, reveals that a private clinic will await Liam Spencer after Bill Spencer buys an experimental treatment to save his son. Thanks to what Hope Logan blurted out at the sanitarium, Bill knows about Liam's inoperable brain excrescence. Of course, Bill refuses to accept this as the end of the road, so he'll be hopeless when he turns to Grace Buckingham for help on Tuesday's B&B occasion. Bill will be looking for any possible way to score some stopgap for Liam's future. That's when Grace will admit there could be a way to keep Liam alive, but it'll cost a lot of plutocrat to make it be. Luckily, Bone Bill indeed has plenitude of plutocrat to use in situations like this. Once Bill gets on board with the experimental treatment that Grace offers, he'll pay $1 million and may promise there's more where that came from if necessary. Grace will rush Liam into surgery, so that'll be step 1 of this treatment program. Still, a private clinic and a new croaker. Protocol will await Liam laterally during the week of July 14th to 18th. As for Grace, it's easy to see she's not doing all this out of the kindness of her heart. Grace cares about Liam as her case, but there's more on the line for her than just saving him. It seems like Grace may have some debts related to her former hubby, Dr. Reese Buckingham, so it's possible she's being hovered to cooperate with all this. Whatever the case, Liam is facing a terminal opinion anyway, so he might as well go through with this experimental treatment and get his stylish chance at survival. Since Liam wants to stick around to watch Kelly Spencer and Beth Spencer grow up, this may be his last occasion to make that be. Over with Bridget Forrester and John Finnegan, they'll be thrown when Grace goes against sanitarium rules and starts making some questionable moves. Finn and Bridget won't get updates on the whole story, so they'll debate the situation and try to make sense of Grace's jest. The bold and the beautiful spoilers say Liam could have good news headed his way if this treatment works, so stay tuned. The bold and the beautiful spoilers are in for Tuesday, July 15th, 2025. In hereafter's occasion, suckers can anticipate Grace Buckingham to operate on Liam Spencer. Meanwhile, Bill Spencer waits impatiently to see his son's outgrowth. Keep reading and let's talk about what's coming up in the CBS cleaner pieces. Liam Spencer wakes up. Let's begin with Liam, who was shot and also went through exigency surgery. While all this was going on, Liam was also dealing with an inoperable brain excrescence. Liam knew he was on espoused time and was pertinacious on saving Steffi Forrester Finnegan from Luna Nozawa. Liam did just that before getting shot himself. Steffi and Hope Logan have been soliciting for Liam to wake up. Grace Buckingham's examination. Just as everyone was arguing with Bill about Liam and Luna, John and Finnegan reported some amazing news. Liam is starting to reply to stimulants, similar as light and sound. Soon after that, everyone watched as Liam's eyes started to flutter open. At first, everyone was vague, but also Liam was eventually suitable to see the people girding him in the hospital. Another surgery. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for hereafter's occasion reveal that Liam just went through exigency surgery. Still, he'll go through another bone. This bone is presumably that parlous treatment that Grace was pushing so hard for. Grace easily wants Liam to survive, but why is she being so pushy about the parlous treatment? Is it because she truly believes that this is the only way for Liam to survive? Or does it have commodity to do with all those annoying dispatches Grace was getting on her phone? Bill Spencer waits while Liam has another surgery. Bill impatiently waits to see the outgrowth. Now that Bill knows about Liam's brain excrescence, he'll do whatever is necessary to get Liam better. When Bill declared in the sanitarium hallway that Liam wasn't going to die, he probably meant it. Plus, with suckers knowing that latterly in the week, Bill steals Liam's body from the sanitarium, it sounds like effects are really hotting up. It was assumed that Lee Finnegan faked Luna's death and was going to try to fix her. Still, with Finn's response to his complicated passions about Luna's death, it's now not veritably clear. Which plot are you looking forward to seeing the most on Tuesday, July 15, 2025? Partake your studies in the comment section below. Flashback to keep watching The Cleaner on CBS or Paramount to find out what happens coming. In the emotionally charged hours that followed Liam Spencer's second brush with death, this time from both a gunshot wound and the grim reality of an inoperable brain tumor, the Forrester and Spencer families found themselves teetering between hope and despair. While the official doctors at University Hospital in Los Angeles followed the rules, guidelines, and protocols that bound their hands, others, like Grace Buckingham, operated in murkier waters. Her ambition, secrets, and personal stakes had begun to overshadow her usual professionalism. And this week, her decisions would shake the very foundation of the hospital and put everything, her reputation, her license, and Liam's life, on the line. Bill Spencer, after learning of his son's inoperable condition, didn't crumble. No. That wasn't in his DNA. The man known as Dollar Bill saw a mountain in his way and immediately started buying bulldozers. Emotionally wrecked but physically charged, he demanded solutions, ordered silence, and offered blank checks. That's when he turned to Grace. She, in turn, introduced him to a covert medical miracle, an experimental procedure pioneered by an overseas colleague whose credentials were questionable and whose methods were, at best, fringe. But if it offered even a 1% chance of saving Liam, Bill was all in. He wasn't ready to say goodbye, not to his son, not while he still had breath in his body and more money than the GDP of most small countries. Meanwhile, Grace played a dangerous double game. Outwardly, she appeared to act out of concern for her patient, deeply affected by Liam's bravery and the pain etched on Hope and Steffi's faces. But the reality was more tangled. Her ex-husband, the disgraced Dr. Reese Buckingham, had resurfaced, not physically, but through threats, debts, and dangerous ties to the experimental facility in question. Reese's influence was subtle but toxic, and it twisted Grace's motivations. She wasn't just trying to save Liam, she was trying to save herself from the fallout of her past. As Liam drifted between consciousness and oblivion, Grace made a bold move. She had already urged Liam to sign off on the paperwork, which, while barely legal, was enough to start the process. With Bill's millions wired and a surgical suite booked under false names at a private clinic out in Santa Barbara, Grace was ready to move Liam without alerting hospital administration. And she had to be fast. Every delay increased the risk of discovery, or worse, Liam's condition deteriorating beyond the point of no return. John Finnegan and Bridget Forrester, however, had been watching. They noticed the inconsistencies, nurse schedules changing suddenly, medical records being locked, and Grace avoiding standard consults. Something was off. Finn, whose instincts were sharpened by years of working with trauma patients, felt a chill run down his spine when he saw Grace receive yet another cryptic message on her phone. It wasn't just hospital politics, something darker was stirring. And then came the encouragement, quietly passed through sterile rooms and hushed corridors. Hope Logan, beside herself with grief but determined to be strong, leaned over Liam's bed and whispered the words she'd rehearsed all night, "You're not going anywhere. Not now. Not yet." Steffi, still torn by guilt over Liam's condition and her complicated feelings about him versus Finn, offered her own strength, clasping Liam's hand and vowing to be there no matter what. Even Ridge and Brooke put aside their usual tension to rally behind their families. The hospital room, for a brief moment, became a place of unity. A baptism of sorts, where tears and words of hope washed over Liam's broken body in the hope of healing him, not just physically, but spiritually. But encouraging words weren't all that filled the air. Angry threats began to emerge as well, sharp as scalpels. Bill confronted hospital administration in a ferocious outburst when they refused to greenlight the experimental procedure. "I will own this hospital by morning if you keep standing in my way," he growled at the chief administrator. "You'll be parking cars at Il Giardino before I let you kill my son with your red tape." Even more tension ignited between Finn and Grace. Finn, desperate for transparency, cornered her in the hallway. "Why are you lying to us? What aren't you telling me?" he demanded. Grace, clearly flustered, deflected with practiced medical jargon. But Finn wasn't buying it. "If something happens to Liam, if this goes sideways, you'll be the one answering to the board. Or worse, to me." And the threats didn't stop at the hospital. Reese's ghost haunted Grace through text messages and veiled warnings. "You owe me, Grace. I got you into this world of medicine. Don't forget who can pull you out of it." Her hands trembled as she prepared the next dose for Liam. Her actions were no longer entirely her own. As the clock ticked, and the team in the hidden Santa Barbara clinic confirmed the surgical suite was ready, Bill made a final, defiant move. Late at night, under the cover of silence and confusion, he arranged for a security team to extract Liam from his hospital bed. With Liam barely conscious, sedated for the transfer, he was wheeled into a black SUV and driven off while Grace distracted the night staff. It was risky. It was illegal. But it was the only option left. Back in Liam's now empty hospital room, Finn and Bridget arrived moments too late. The machines were disconnected, the bed stripped, and the scent of antiseptic still hung in the air. Finn turned to the security footage, demanding answers. But by then, the SUV had vanished into the night, racing toward either salvation or a fatal mistake. The following morning, news of Liam's disappearance rocked the hospital. Bridget was forced to report the incident to the board, while Finn, torn between concern and fury, vowed to get to the bottom of it. Steffi, devastated that she wasn't consulted or included in Liam's extraction, lashed out at Bill. "You took him away like some kind of criminal. What if he dies because of this stunt?" she shouted. But Bill, cold and calm in the face of her rage, simply replied, "He was dying already. Now he has a chance." Meanwhile, at the Santa Barbara clinic, the surgery began. Grace's colleague, a brilliant but ethically compromised surgeon, took over. The procedure was dangerous, unapproved, and required a level of precision that bordered on miraculous. Grace watched from behind the glass, whispering silent prayers that this gamble would pay off, not just for Liam's life, but for her own. As the hours passed, Hope, Steffi, and Bill waited in silence, each consumed by their own regrets and hopes. When the surgeon finally emerged from the operating room, his expression was unreadable. "We won't know for 48 hours, he said. But, he made it through the surgery. That's step one." Hope broke down in tears. Steffi exhaled a breath she didn't know she was holding. And Bill? He clenched his fists in silent determination. For now, Liam was still in the fight. And Bill had no intention of letting him lose. Back in Los Angeles, Finn prepared to file a report, but part of him hesitated. As much as he disagreed with Grace and Bill's decisions, he couldn't deny the impossible situation they were in. He knew the hospital wouldn't have approved the surgery. And he knew Liam didn't have time to wait. So instead of calling the police, he chose something else, to find out the truth himself. And if necessary, to protect Liam, even from afar.